Hello, Saints Nation. After a spectacular curb stomping at the hands of the Packers, I have recovered. Midas has recovered. The Saints haven't recovered. We're going to talk a little bit of Saints today. So, as you'll see from the title of the video, the topic for this is what exactly do we have to look forward to with the rest of this season? Because the Saints got a stark, definitive, painful reality check. As it turns out, the team that barely, barely, despite their best efforts, beat the team that's going to end up with the number one overall pick, most likely, is not in the class of the Green Bay Packers, who not only have a very good offense, but a very good defense and are healthy. Like a healthy version of the Saints is getting stomped by the Packers. They weren't healthy. And then they lost players in the game. So that's kind of how you get that result. I'm not going to spend too much time on the game because we all saw it, and it is what it is. And I don't think there's any point. Like, could I qualify and make excuses or contextualize or pick your verbiage around Rattler? I mean, sure, but what's the point? Like, if he'd gone into that game and looked awesome, which was borderline impossible under those circumstances, would it have meant something? Sure. Really, honestly, any result other than that, from an analysis perspective, is kind of meaningless. Like, Caleb Williams is the number one overall pick. He just scored 3 points in the game. Like, pressure beats pressure like that beats pretty much every quarterback. And if you don't have a great offensive coordinator, which we don't, I'm not even sure we have a good one. Like, you don't have answers to that test. You just don't. So, like, we didn't learn really anything there. We learned that a fifth round rookie is not ready to play against one of the league's best defenses with a banged up offensive line and absolutely zero weapons. And he made some awesome wow plays and some wow plays and a lot of just, yeah, that sucked, which we expected it to suck. That's not because he sucked. It was the circumstances sucked. Is what it is. Kendre, uh, God, this whole coaching staff hates this. He either has to have a really bad attitude or he's got to just be like the dumbest pro athlete on earth. And like this happens. Like a lot of like there the idea that athletes and jocks are stupid is it's a really dumb stereotype and it's kind of never really worked its way out, especially like for professional players, like the amount of information that you have to process in a given period of time and the amount of variables that you have to filter through in order to choose the right thing. It's pretty extreme. Like your brain is doing a lot when you're on the field, like regardless of position. Like dumb players usually don't make it that far. So calling someone in the league dumb, like, dumb for a pro athlete, dumb for the game, like physically you've maxed out, but you don't have the mental capacity to handle things at this level, or you don't have the personality type to put in the work to either compensate or adapt. And some version thereof. And look, Kendry keeps getting benched and not played because he doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing. And he's not a rookie. Like, you were out hurt for a long time, but you still have a playbook. You can still like do sims and VR and stuff and run yourself through things to understand pass protection and blocking assignments and where you're supposed to be. Like, there are opportunities to put in the work to know what you need to be doing. So he's probably the most talented in between the tackles runner on the team. And based on all the things we know about him and all the things we've seen, I would happily take Genty in the top 10 and let this guy go. I just don't see what he brings. Like, again, good runner, but he's not an incredible runner. And if you can't trust him in all the other aspects of playing the position, a team with no weapons at all, and he can't get on the field, that's a problem. So like I guess that's a learning from the game, and that's really kind of answers the question I put up at the beginning, and it's kind of the title for today. You know, what is left to learn about the 2024 Saints? I said a few weeks ago, the whole goal for these last 4 weeks should be evaluation. You know, you're getting to see some things with Rattler, and even with the playing poorly, there is something to learn there. If he plays poorly, and obviously there's circumstances and he understands those circumstances, but like, does it affect how he practices? Does it affect how he leads? Does it affect how he is in the huddle? Like, is he blaming teammates and throwing guys under the bus? Publicly, he's not doing it. He's already better than Carr in that regard. But behind the scenes, is he making excuses, or is he just like, look, let's go to work, let's do the best we can, da 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 da, which is what you want to see, especially out of a rookie. Um, is he continuing to put in the work? Like, those are things you can see and evaluate regardless of the results and the final scores of the game. And you should be doing that across the roster. You know, Austin Jr. is a somewhat intriguing wide receiver to be like wide receiver 4 or 5, but that's not written in pen. He's got to continue to make plays and step up and show that he should be given an opportunity to be on the roster next year. Foster Moreau has been, Foster has reminded us that he's still a good player. He absolutely should be on the roster next year. Juwan Johnson has reminded us that he's not a good player and should not be on the roster next year. He's a free agent. There's less than zero reason to sign that guy. You're a tight end who can't block and can't catch. Like, what value do you bring? Just because your wife makes terrible TikTok content does not make you useful to an NFL franchise. Sorry. Like, bye, go away. Okay. Like, again, those are evaluations. I would like to see Boyd get some snaps at nose tackle. I would like to see Ford get some snaps at linebacker. I'd love to see him get a whole game. Let's see what he's got. You're not playing for anything. Let's see what he's got. Let's see what he can do. Um, is Rizzy going to do that? Probably not. Rizzy probably believes that um, yeah, he probably still thinks he's got a shot. I think he's got zero shot. I think it was a long shot for him to be the head coach um, going into last week, and not just because of the result. Like, the goose egg matters, but it's how you got there and some of the things that happened within the game. That's proper analysis. You're actually looking at the variables, the components, the what affected what, how it happened, in the context in which it happened. Like, that's how analysis is supposed to be, not just what ESPN has become, which is just rings. You got rings. All right, cool. Well, Robert Ory's better than Charles Barkley. Glad we had this conversation, dipshit. Um, like, that's really where the meat and the nuance and the interesting components are. So, you know, I'm out on Rizzy completely. I wasn't big on him before, but like, again, it's not the result; it's how you got there, and it's just as simple as, if he's not a phenomenal leader and he doesn't have tremendous attention to detail, he doesn't improve your offense, he doesn't improve your defense. Where's your advantage? Now, if he's a tremendous motivator and a tremendous attention to detail guy, like a Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's not the offensive coordinator or the defensive coordinator. He's a phenomenal coach. You say the same thing about John Harbaugh. Neither of them are coordinators. They don't. It's not their offense. They hire guys, but they run everything. They're a CEO type. Okay, like, you can have that. It works. I don't think Rizzy's that guy. I think the players love him. I think he's a hell of an upgrade from Dennis Allen, but Dennis Allen's one of the worst coaches in NFL history. So, being a hell of an upgrade from that, you could still suck. You just suck a lot less than the guy who sucks the most ever. So, what's to gain from, or what's to learn for the last 2 weeks? I think it's more of the same. It's more analysis. Like, do I want to see Chris Olave come back? I mean, for the purposes of being able to analyze Spencer Rattler and his potential, having your number one wide receiver, having a target who can actually get open reliably to throw to against a Vegas defense that's good, like they're solid, but they're not great, and a Bucks defense that's low key kind of bad. Like even with a bad O line, like can he make some plays? Again, it's not about winning. I want to lose both of these games. Like there's no gain in winning. I'm not gonna be pissed if we win. I'll be like, haha, I guess we're gonna be the 11th pick instead of the ninth. Oh well. Like I'm not gonna be mad, but I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, I can't believe we dropped one spot in the draft and for a meaningless win. But the context is really all that's left of the interesting of this season. So seeing Olave play with Rattler, and seeing does Rattler look different with real weapons and guys who are actually open. Um, yeah, yeah, that can be interesting. Again, play more of the young guys. Play Boyd, play Ford. That's really all you have left to gain at this point. Um, sorry, brain fart. Actually, I'll say there's one other thing to gain, but it's really more of like a hypothetical that you could observe this and see it. Clearly, information was acquired. Um, these last two games are really kind of a chance for the Saints to a degree sell themselves to potential coaching candidates. The Saints are not one of the more desirable opportunities. Some of that is because of the cap situation. Some of that's because of the roster. Again, great job, Mickey. You're so good at what you do. Unfortunately, what you do is light Gale's money on fire and nuke two teams. Two teams. Technically, that's four, but two on each finger, hand, whatever. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all Mickey does at this point. Like, you were not a very good GM when Sean was here. You've been a terrible GM since Sean left. These last two games is a chance to potentially sway someone. Like, if you get, let's say Boyd looks good next to Brzee. Brzee's definitely a nice young player. Like, there's a building block there. Let's say Boyd shows some more flashes and looks like he might be able to help in the run game. Let's say Ford gets some snaps and looks good and looks intriguing, and a coach goes, I can work with that. That's a young, talented, athletic player. I can do something with this. Um, Kool-Aid's had some nice snaps. He's a rookie. Like he's had some rookie mistakes, but he's had some really, really good snaps. His technique is good. He's a good athlete. Like that's a building type player. Maybe move Alante back on the inside and try out Rico on the outside. Like these are the types of opportunities that can actually help someone who's going to come in and be like, well, look at these last two games. When we didn't play playoff teams, who we should lose to, this is how we looked and this is how we performed. So while we're not a good team, the team in the roster is not bottom of the league and we have all these injuries. Like that's something you should be in sales mode right now. I need to find our strengths and positives so I can sell them to somebody because this is not a destination where it's desirable. Not right now. Yes, there's only 32 of these jobs, so you're going to get somebody. But are you going to get the somebody that's at the top of your list? Probably not. And look, if Rattler comes out there and throws for 265 and three touchdowns in one of these last two games, which again, with these receivers, highly unlikely, but let's say it happens, yeah, that of course makes it more appealing. A coach comes there and goes, okay, maybe there's a quarterback I can work with here, and there's some talent on the offensive line. Guard's a disaster, but like the other three spots are at least okay. Yes, Penny had a bad game last week, but over now a 15 game sample, he's been fine. Not great, but fine. Like, you can kind of sell yourself on it. At least it becomes non exclusionary. And then if you also find out, well, Mickey's going to get the fuck out of the way, I'm going to get a real GM in here. Yeah, yeah, you can absolutely sell it to a quality candidate. That's really what the last two games should be about. Find a way to lose, find a way to look good. Ideally, learn more about the young talent on the roster and what is there. or what might be there, or what is not there. And other than that, from a fan perspective, and this is the final statement, um, this is sicko season. Like, this really is sicko season. If you're sitting down and watching these final two games and with this team and these circumstances, you're sick. I'm sick. If you're listening to me talk for 15 minutes about the Saints, you're sick. We're sick. So that's kind of where it is. It's sicko season. Lots of content planned for the channel coming around the draft. We're gonna look and break down the whole roster, start breaking down all the different positions in the draft, ranking things. Probably even gonna have some guests come on and talk about it as well. So yeah, looking forward to it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Appreciate anybody who made it all the way through my ramblings today. And well, let's see if tomorrow's game is any more fun than the last one.